Hi there, Dr. Carlos Todd here, and as usual, I'm here to share with you some skills on how to fight less, love more. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about how do you handle an angry employee? And I'll give you some steps to address this. Every employer is going to have some individual that has some challenge in managing their emotions. And one of the big mistakes that managers can make is really not handling this situation well. You're going to have a range of people in your workspace who are, some don't say very much, some are a little bit more vocal, and everything in between, right? And one has to be able to know how to deal with those emotions. And what I've done over the years is that, and this is also through my dissertation program, where I actually developed and had a peer review of an anger management model. And so over the years, what I've done is developed a program that I think is extremely helpful in helping people to address or manage anger in the work. And so I'll share with you a few things to consider as you work through addressing dealing with an angry employee. So what do? What is the first thing? Don't match your energy. I mean, and this is kind of a global principle. If someone is irate, you want to lower your voice, right? You want to give them space, right? You don't want to match their energy. And this is kind of like as a basic principle to consider. So again, don't match your energy, lower your tone if they raise their tone, and also give them a bit of personal space, right? So those are actually two things wrapped up in one, right? Don't match your energy and give them space. It's also important, I think, to focus on the person's behavior, not the person. Right? What does that mean? You don't want to say insulting things like, you've been this way all this time, I don't know why you're even here, or what is wrong with you, and you engage in criticism. That is very different from, like, I noticed that you've been agitated in recent times. You want to make sure that you focus on that and ask questions, be curious about why they may be feeling or responding in the way that they do. Because employees are, well, all of us, we're human beings, right? And people go through all kinds of things, especially in their personal lives, that can have a direct impact on how they respond in the work environment. And one may believe that a thing is happening because of some personal reason, but I want you to default to the idea that the reasons why people respond in the way that they do are most often personal issues that they may be having. They're not a reflection on them feeling some way necessarily about you as the manager. And so I think that that's something to keep in mind. You want to create a space for people to talk, right? You bring them into your office. You don't want to be having a confrontation in the hallway, standing next to the person's cubicle, right? That in itself can lead to escalation. It can lead to feelings of embarrassment, which can backfire over time, right? So, hey, Susie, Mary, John, I noticed. Well, you don't necessarily have to say notice things, but hey, when you have some time, or set a specific time, and let's talk. You bring them to the office, make the space private, and you talk about the issue. You build in relationships over time, because it is much easier to reform a good employee, much easier, actually more cost effective to reform a good employee than to have to hire somebody else. And so I've seen this across the board where, again, people who are the warehouse worker all the way up to the surgeon or the executive who has some struggle with anger, and it is easier to give them the skills to improve their emotional regulation than to hire somebody new. So bring these people into a space, talk them out, give them a class. We have classes on masteringanger.com, the link below, to help individuals manage their anger. I expressed earlier that you want to make sure you use calm language. Help me understand what's happening, because I'm not sure. And I'm a big believer in the idea of being tentative in your language as opposed to definitive. So definitive would be, you did this, as opposed to, I'm really trying to understand how this thing has happened or why your behavior has changed over time. I'm really trying to understand what your needs are, or I'm also really trying to understand what I'm missing, right? So that's another way of really trying to be curious as opposed to this definitive, you are this or you've been this. Another way of saying this is let's walk through this together. Like I want to get your perspective on what happened in this situation, why things escalated between you and John, because I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I fully kind of get what's going on here. So I want to be able to kind of understand that a little bit better. And I think the final thing is provide employees with tools. And one of the tools that you can provide is a class. Classes that teach stress management, general communication skills are going to fit into the workplace, emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. I do have an aspect of our program where we talk about things like, on a very basic level, recovering from trauma, right? Because some people may have death, loss, grief of some sort, or financial stressors, or other things that can impact the way how they perform. And being able to do a class and learn some basic skills on stress management, for example, can help. So that's part of what we do. We don't just focus in on just the workplace alone. There is a core element of our program where we talk about the workplace, but we also include those things like emotional intelligence, stress management, communication skills. Resiliency is another one, right? How do you manage change? Change is happening for the employee all over, and they need the skills to be able to manage change. So that's another area that we focus in on that I think might be helpful for them to have. So again, masteringanger.com. We provide these programs. Click the link below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.